Lost Faith monologue. Today's date is Wednesday, the 26th of November 2025. It's been a while since I've done one of these. Had other things to contend with, which is zapping me energy, me resources. So I was thinking, what am I going to talk about? And I was thinking about what would seem to me a very obvious regression in people's consciousness, their awareness. And I was thinking, is this somehow related to the 2021 William Shakespeare operation? Because one thing's for sure, there was a reason they were so desperate to get so many people coerced into injecting themselves with an unknown concoction against their own consent, without their consent, even informed consent. And just as I left the house, I happened to look at YouTube, and would you believe it's now being discussed in what you would probably call the, I don't know, is it the new mainstream on alternative? Is it mainstream? So I think is it Talk TV? Julia Hartley-Brewer, is that her name? Complete shill, fake, what would you call her? Fake, rebellious journalist. And Carl Hennigan, Professor of Evidence-Based Medicine. And they're talking about the link to William Shakespeare and excess deaths in the UK, and how the government agencies, namely the Health and Security Agency, I think that's what they're called, Health and Security, doesn't sound very benevolent, does it? Morning. Sounds very Orwellian. Health and security. It's like a surveillance system. Anyway, apparently this government agency is refusing to release data which could show a link between William Shakespeare and excess deaths. So now obviously I'm wondering more about people's mental state than the excess deaths, but it was interesting that this seems to be seeping through what some of us have been saying for over 5 years now. So these two state actors are talking about the lack of transparency from the government agencies and how it fuels conspiracy theories. Because obviously if you have a lack of transparency and the government aren't clear on what the data tells us, then they leave a void of unknown, and that void gets filled with theories, skepticism, people asking questions why, which is absolutely right. You should be doing that. And their reason, so apparently the government's reason for this, or the agency, is that if it does show a link, then it will cause distress and anger among bereaved relatives. So, and you can't make this up. Too right you should be distressed and angered. I'd be distressed if I had that toxic shit pumping through me veins or in me cells. And I'd be angry. I am angry. My stepfather-in-law, I believe, was murdered by that thing. And he was finished off by a nurse with a midazolam and morphine, just to finish the job. Because they're very, very, they like dignity in dying, don't they? Put him out of his misery, like a dog. Anyway, yeah, it will cause distress and anger. But, and this is how the government sees the public, as immature children, psychologically, emotionally immature, retarded, if you like, arrested development. That's how they say it. That's how they've got the public. The public, in the main, are like children. Mammy, daddy, government will save us. Don't want to do anything for yourself. That's what government's there for. But so to expect to be treated the way you behave. So like a child, you wouldn't tell your child that Grandad was murdered by the state. And that would cause distress.
Good morning.
You alright?
Yes, thanks, love, are you?
It's a cold one, but it's nice.
It is, it's very
Nice and bright, isn't it?
It is, it's champion. What's about this?
Definitely.
Nice to see you.
And you. Yeah, you wouldn't tell your child that Grandad was murdered by the state. Because that would cause distress and anger. But as an adult, you want to know. You want to know what happened to him. So you can, make sure you don't trust the bastards again. And, activate yourself for justice or to raise awareness. You'd want to know. If you don't know, if you don't address it, then you can't make a change. Now, I'm gonna. So, what the government would, if you found one of these talking heads and you said, why don't they just trust us with the data? It'll show what it shows. And they'll say, well, we don't want people to be distressed and angry. Now, what they'll add to that is, plus, we don't want every single death to be, in the minds of the people, attributed to William Shakespeare, which is what could possibly happen. Every single death, definitely ones which would be considered premature. A lot of that round at the minute. I'm constantly hearing of people in their 50s early 50s, leaving the construct, and that's very early. Heart attacks, caught up with an acquaintance just the other week who recently had a heart attack, early 50s. So anyway, they know that every death will be certainly premature, perceived premature, will be attributed to William Shakespeare and turbo cancers and things like that. And that's the excuse that they'll say. We don't want people going overboard. In other words, you can't be trusted. They don't trust the public. They think they're children. It always comes back to the same. This is a abusive, dysfunctional family relationship between narcissistic and enabling parents and scapegoat children and golden child. That's what the dynamic is between government and the people. It's a dysfunctional family type relationship. If you look at the abuse cycle of dysfunctional families, you'll spot it. The golden child. You know, if you side with the government, you're given all the praise, all the spoils, and made to feel like a good citizen, golden child. And if you're anti-establishment and you call the government out for who they are, lying bastards, then you're scapegoated, and all the problems are placed on you as a group of people. And Conservative is the daddy, more controlling, more militant, more protective, and Labour is the mother, more sharing and socialist, and everybody has an equal share, just like Mummy at the dinner table. Everybody has a fair share. There's no winners and losers. And benefits and welfare state, that's the Mummy, health and safety gone mad and all that sort of stuff. The nanny state. I could go into that more, Mummy and Daddy government, but for the purpose of this monologue, let's stick to the William Shakespeare. So, they treat you like kids. When you treat you like kids, you behave like kids. And when you behave like kids, you're treated like kids. Vicious circle. So they don't trust us. And that's the ostensible reason that they would give. Don't want to cause distress and anger. Oh, thanks. Thanks, Daddy government, Mammy government, thanks. Just looking after our best interests, our well-being and our safety. And I'm sure they would add to that they don't want people attributing every death to it, because there could be some sort of civil unrest. And these are the sort of excuses that they can get. You know, they can get like either legal backing or D notices on the media. I'm not saying this is exactly what they would do in this scenario, but if they can argue that it's for national security, then the government are allowed to cover anything up, is what I'm saying. So you poison us, you destroy and attack our bodies at a cellular level, you traumatise us, manipulate us, coerce us, and then when the shit hits the fan, you don't have to tell us, because it's for the benefit of us as a collective nation. That's a proper sociopath, psychopath, narcissist, whatever you want to call it. That's what they are. That's what the dysfunctional family has as parents. A narcissist and a enabler working perfectly together. So anyway, so they're the ostensible reasons. And the way this cult operates, there's always an ostensible reason, which is what the mass public are fed. And it always kind of makes sense. Like, there's nothing I've said there about the ostensible reasons that a rational person could sort of pick holes in, or a low rational. No, I'm going to change that. Not rational. Your average Joe, your average NPC. They're not really rational. They are very logical. Sounds like logic to me. Logic is not necessarily rational. So that's the ostensible reason, and it sounds logic. And people eat that up and regurgitate it. No, you're wrong. You're a conspiracy theorist. You're wrong. This is why. It's because they're looking after us. They love us and want to take care of us, and you know, they're our parents. You're wrong. You're a conspiracy theorist. So that's the ostensible reason. Now, I'm gonna put a theory out there, and I'm gonna argue. For now, let's just get past. Morning, thank you. I'm gonna put it out there that this void that they are leaving by not releasing the data, as they've said, as Hennigan said, it creates a void. This is not exactly what he said. What he said was that transparency is the antidote to conspiracy. And what he means is, if you lack transparency, you leave an empty space and it gets filled with ideas and theories. And people can go anywhere with that, wherever their imagination will take them. But I'm going to suggest that they've done that on purpose. They've left a void on purpose. They want it filled. And what they want it filled with is William Shakespeare causes excess deaths. And the logic for your average skeptic, their logic will be, well look, they're not releasing the data, so it must show that. And they're going to jump to that conclusion anyway, whether the data comes out or not. Now, do you think these people who work in the shadows, the psychologists and the social engineers, the behavioural scientists that the government employ to manipulate and control and predict the population, the behavioural insights team, I think they changed their name, but anyway, this is how the government runs now. It always has done, really. It's just ramped up in the last 20 years, I would say, 25 years, 20, where they now just do openly employ behavioural psychologists to mould and shape policy. Nudge unit, I think it was called, before it was the behavioural insights team. Mindspace, that's what that document's called, look it up, 2008 I think, or 12, Mindspace. So this is not by accident. They are not incompetent. They are useful idiots, but behind the scenes they are not incompetent. They know what they're doing. And this void has been left on purpose, not releasing this data. And if you've got any, if you're in any groups on social media, or you've got friends who are, you know, believe they're awake, then test this out. I bet you they all jump to that as a sign that so you to cover up. Definitely causing excess deaths. And if people are doing that, they're not thinking straight. As far as I can see. Because the government know that we're going to do that. So what's my point? What am I getting at? As long as you believe it's the William Shakespeare, then you don't believe it's anything else. The Hegelian dialectic. Is it climate change? Is it William Shakespeare? No. It's those cellular towers that are going up all over the place. That's, for now, what I'm going to theorise is that these cellular towers emitting these frequencies are messing with our electrical body and causing disease. And as long as we're not talking about that, then, you know, nothing's ever... They're getting away with it. They're totally getting away with it. Cheers.
Just leave the gate open.
All right. What was I saying? Yeah, so... Because they can just argue. You can argue and manipulate and make the data show whatever you want. And they can just keep calling people conspiracy theories. All right, okay. What's I saying? Yeah, they can argue and just keep calling it conspiracy theories and this is people blowing it out of all proportion. And while we're arguing about that, what we're not arguing about is the towers. And that's... The government love you arguing about the wrong thing. And then nobody's addressing the towers. I think I've made my point. I don't think there's anything much more I can say on that. It's pretty obvious what I'm saying. Look over here, and here's a distraction. Now, and then, so I would say that the reason why they're not, the real reason they're not releasing the data is because twofold. They want people thinking there's a conspiracy and a cover-up, and the data wouldn't show that. It wouldn't show a link. This is me just totally theorising at the minute. But one thing's for sure, if this has been spoken about by these propaganda, fake, anti-establishment shills like Hartley Brewer and Hennigan, establishment lackeys, ultimately, work for the establishment, if they're saying or suggesting that there's a cover-up, then you've got to ask yourself why. Why is this coming out through the mainstream alternative media? It's because they want you to think this. They are controlling your mind. And I've sort of wondered about this since the whole 2020 PSYOP. I've swung between is the William Shakespeare bioweapon, exactly that, a weapon to kill and maim, or is it a cover? Because it would make sense. And I said at the start of this, there's a reason why they wanted every single person injected, or as many people as possible. And why would that be? Now what they said was there's, this scary invisible virus coming to attack you. Now, maybe that is partly true. It's the frequencies from the towers, and what they need, and it's going to potentially affect everyone. So if all of a sudden there's excess deaths and turbo cancers and heart attacks and blood clots and whatever, and let's just say the 2020 PSYOP had never happened, but all of a sudden these excess deaths, everybody would be asking questions. What is going on? And it appears environmental. What has changed in the environment that's causing people all of a sudden to have all of these problems? Whereas what they did was they ran a PSYOP to make everybody think that there was an invisible killer on the loose who knew when you were sitting down and knew when you were stood up, knew when you were eating, knew when you had 6 people, knew when you had 7. And that this invisible killer needs an antidote, and we need as many people injected. It didn't make any sense whatsoever. It did not affect hardly anybody in the grand scheme of things. I had more chance statistically of falling off a ladder and leaving the construct that way than what I did of any risk from that nonsense. Flu magically disappeared, then was replaced. But they wanted everybody injected because when the shit really hits the fan from the towers, then they can blame the injection. In other words, it's a scapegoat. I'm not saying that it hasn't done any harm, and I'm not saying that, some of the things that we've learnt about what the hell is in it and what it does, I'm not saying that none of that's true. It'll be a combination. These eugenicists, they never waste a good opportunity to carry out their missions. 2, 3, 4-pronged attacks. And maybe it's the two working together. That's what a lot of people have said, that it's the towers in combination with whatever's in there. And I do believe that there is some sort of nanotechnology inside there. So could just be a combination of both. But one thing is for sure, you'll just get the low level. Is it linked or is it not linked? And you'll have arguments on both sides. So you're arguing it till the cows come home. And the synthesis of those two dialectics is nobody knows. So I started off by asking about people's general level of consciousness, their awareness at the minute.
One side. We're gonna one side.
This side, Elliot.
Thank you. Thanks. People's level of awareness, level of consciousness, it just seems to be worse. Unless it's me becoming more aware. Just so many people are just so trapped in their ego and that left-brained, controlling, micromanaging, skeptical, no open mind, no self-reflection. They take any sort of feedback as some sort of challenge on them. Very defensive, quite aggressive as well. And now I've noticed this at work, and so my question was: is it linked to William Shakespeare? That definitely does seem to be a regression. I think that's the right word in people's consciousness. And it could be the trauma of the 2020 PSYOP. And, you know, they've just gone back to normal, as if nothing's happened. But definitely this. There seems to be a complete lack of any emotional intelligence, any right-brained activity, any rational thinking, any self-reflection. Just logic and ego, neocortex, completely dysfunctional, and they're ruled by their reptilian brain, instinct, survival. Is this a threat? Is this a threat? Somebody's actually questioning my idea, and I need to defend. I need to attack. Completely gone offline. Can the William Shakespeare do something like that? I mean, they say can cross the blood-brain barrier and attack. And I suppose I've got no idea what that looks like in terms of the brain being attacked by a toxic protein. Would it go into fight or flight? Shut down the neocortex? I can well imagine. But also, even if it's just at a cellular level, the body's under a lot of stress dealing with this toxin, which my understanding is, nobody knows when it stops producing. What's that doing to your physiology? Is the body under so much stress that you are in fight or flight mode? Because when the body's in stress, dealing with something, it does go into stress mode, which is fight or flight. You need to rest and deal with this rather than functioning. And all you're functioning, if you're trying to go to work and deal with daily life, I can imagine you're just functioning at that base consciousness level of stress, fight or flight. And that would give some explanation as to heart attacks, because when you're in fight or flight, your heart is pumping rich oxygenated blood away from the torso, all of your vital organs away from those into the arms and legs. And if your vital organs are not getting a good healthy supply of oxygenated blood for sustained periods of time, then it's going to cause dis-ease. Now, there's one person in particular who I work with, who I've only worked with them for 6 months or so, so I don't really know what they were like prior to that. But they're very angry. She seems very angry and bitter, very close-minded. All of the behavioural traits I've just explained. But just totally unrational, and you just think, but you're not doing yourself any favours. People are turning against you. People are starting to find you unattractive, as in your personality. People aren't connecting with you. You're not winning anybody here. You're not doing yourself any favours. And something which I know about her is that she, about 5 months ago or so, she had to go to hospital with a really bad migraine or headache. I mean, just a coincidence.